Now that was a nice little intro, wasn't it? Hey guys, what's up? I am Dolce, and today I'm going to talk about moving from consoles to PC, and I'm going to give you my thoughts on it. Now, first thing I want to talk about is my new setup. I bought myself a custom-made gaming PC for a very neat price. If you're interested in all the shiny new specs, they will be listed in the description, so be sure to check that out if you're interested, or if it makes your naughty parts tingle. Now let's talk about why I did it and perhaps help some of you guys decide if you're still thinking about making the switch. Now I'm sure that what scares a lot of people when considering buying a gaming PC is the price tag, and that's very understandable. That's what kept me from buying one for months until I actually did some research and found out that if you want to play all the recent AAA titles on high or on ultra pretty, you don't need to spend $2,000 to $4,000 on PC parts. For example, I spent $1,000 on mine, and I'm talking about just, bare bones PC, just the box, not the screen and the mouse and keyboard and all that stuff. So I spent $1,000 on mine, and I can play all the latest titles on pretty. I can even get Crysis 3 to run on high while maintaining a decent frame rate, meaning 60 FPS. And I already hear a lot of you guys saying, but why now? The next gen consoles are already around the corner. And I know that. I did it because I'm gonna kind of sound like an asshole here, but I did it because I'm serious about gaming, and what that means is that I know I'm gonna be still gaming and kicking it on Battlefield 12 until I'm 80, hoping I'll actually make 80. And also why I got a PC is because I'm a big fan of competitive online FPS shooters. And what's important for me is frames, a lot of frames and a constant frames, or at least 60, and that's a hard thing to bring to the consoles. If you would have to bring 60 frames to the consoles, not only to the current gen consoles but to the next one, you would have to dumb down the graphics and resolution down too far. And if they did that with every AAA FPS shooter out there, they'd have to, I don't know, they'd have to dumb down the graphics and all that stuff, and a game wouldn't really look appealing anymore, and it wouldn't really sell as much, because on consoles, graphics matter. That is what sells the game. Being able to put out a trailer of your pretty shiny new game, that sells. And looking at the specs of the new PS4, I'm not sure that we will see everything running in 1080p at 60 FPS. I'm just not convinced that the GPU will be able to handle that, seeing that the GPU is rumored to be based around the AMD 7670, and that doesn't even come close to half the performance GTX 670 puts out, which is a mid-range GPU for gaming. So we might see a couple of titles running at 60 FPS, but after a year, maybe a year and a half, I expect to see frames gradually drop down to the 30s again. But, I mean, don't take my word for it, Perhaps with the new way the next-gen consoles are built, which is pretty much a PC architecture, the devs will be able to get a lot more out of the hardware than we may all expect, which in the end will be fantastic news for PC gamers as well, because they wouldn't have to deal with all these awful console ports, we're dealing with right now. But that's for another video, though. Now, another concern may be the fact that you'll have to say goodbye to your beloved controller and trade it in for that awful keyboard. Now, honestly, that was my biggest fear, that I could never get used to all these awful position keys so close to each other, because it's just not simple moving from a controller to a keyboard. It just feels so awkward, right? I mean, all those little keys close to each other, it just doesn't really feel right. But I have to say, if you put in the time, I'd say you'd start getting familiar with it after a week or so, but to really master the whole keyboard situation, I'd say after a month, probably a month, and you'll be good to go. That's how long it took me. I'll just take me as a point of reference here. So yeah, I'd say about a month and you're good to go. Now, the one thing I did not expect is how much I was going to like the mouse. It just makes such a big difference when it comes to being accurate in FPS. To give you an example, in Battlefield 3, it was so hard to control a gun with a lot of vertical recoil on console, especially the LMGs. But on PC, it's just so easy compared to how tricky it is on console. And I can honestly say that just by using the mouse, my accuracy has just doubled. That's how effective a mouse is as an FPS. It's just uncomparable to the controller. and there's also close to zero learning curve when it comes to using the mouse. I personally got used to it after playing, what, 1 or 2 hours. It is fantastic. I'd never trade in my mouse for anything else. What's also very attractive to PC gaming is the customizability. The fact that you have all of these graphics options in game means you have control to make the game run as smooth as possible on your gaming rig. Take for example, I can play Battlefield 3 on Ultra, right, at around 60 FPS, you know, if I wanted to. But again, I'm a frames guy, and I choose frames over graphics. Besides, modern games still look very sharp on low settings at 1080p. So in Battlefield 3, I just run the game on low so that I get 120 plus FPS when I'm playing online. But that's just my preference, you know. And don't forget, it's really easy to upgrade your hardware as well. The fact that you can put in a new GPU or hard drive or whatever you want in your rig at any time is really handy. With consoles, you gotta wait until they put out a new one, which can take as long as 8 years, as you can see with the current gen consoles. And if you really get into it, you can sort of make a hobby out of it. And of course, don't forget it's still a PC, and if you buy yours, it doesn't mean you'll just have to put down all that money to play games, you know, you'll be able to do everything on your PC. Like, take me for example, I edit my videos with it, I capture my gameplay with it, do a big part of school and work on it. You know, I watch and download all of my movies and shows, whatever. And of course, porn. Lots and lots of porn, of course. One of the things I absolutely hated was the fact that I had no choice but to spend so much fucking money on consoles when it came to games. I mean, sure, I could still pick up a used game if I didn't feel like paying 65 bucks for a game that came out 6 months ago. Yeah, I'm talking about you, Activision. I wasn't really down anymore to spend so much money on console titles. And yes, I know developing games is becoming more and more expensive each year. I get that. But when I see all of these Steam sales for PC, I'm sure that at the end, if you're a PC gamer or a console player like I was for the past 15 years or so, chances are you're both spending the same amount of cash in your whole gaming hobby. That is, of course, if you don't change your GPU every 6 months, which is just pointless. And I know I'm starting to sound like I'm only pointing out bad things about the consoles, but that's not the point of the video. Not at all. I had a lot of fun on my consoles, and I still enjoy them with some of my friends. All I'm trying to say and do in this video is point out the difference between the two platforms, and just point out why I think the PC stands out from the consoles, and possibly future consoles, when it comes to hardware and customization possibilities to either the hardware and the software. So the question of the day is, would you ever consider leaving your trusting console for a PC? And if yes, why? Anyways, that's it for me, guys. I hope it helped in some way. If you have any questions, leave a comment down below. Due to the fact that my channel is rather on the small side these days, I'll be able to reply to you very quickly. Please feel free to rate the video, consider subscribing, and don't forget, don't do meth while driving. This is Dolce, and I'm out.